everyone, it's Dana here. Welcome to another episode of Research Works podcast. I'm so glad you decided to join us today because today's episode is actually incredibly unique. Co-hosting the podcast with me today is physiotherapist at the Healthy Strides Foundation, Sophia Gribben. Welcome, Sophia.
Thank you. I'm very honoured to be on the couch for Research Works.
I love that you're here. Thank you so much for coming in to have a chat with our guest today. Before we introduce our guest today, I thought I'd give a little bit more context as well because you're a clinician. But you're also a mother and someone with lived experience for the particular topic we'll be talking about today. And we know that the perspective of lived experience is so important, isn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely. I've learned that from experience.
Yes.
I am a clinician, but I, as you say, also a mother to 3 children, and one of them is my daughter. She's 6 and she happens to have Down syndrome.
And she is a gorgeous one indeed. So 6 years old, what does she love doing?
She loves to dance. She loves to draw and do puzzles.
And do puzzles, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she is what number out of the 3?
She's number 2, in the middle.
In the middle child. Any middle child symptoms there that you can see?
Oh, I don't know. She's the only girl as well, so
that makes it more complicated, doesn't it? Yeah.
She definitely holds her own amongst the brothers, that's for sure.
Good girl, well done. But I know that through the process, I mean, she's 6. I can't believe she's 6.
Yeah.
But navigating the system and understanding, what's around, what's available is a journey in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is, and can be very overwhelming at the beginning. But I think, in a sense, I feel lucky as a clinician and having that sort of therapy background, that helped a lot at the beginning because I could sort of, I knew what to just ignore. There's a lot of stuff that can be very, getting all this information from all angles, and that helped me to kind of just filter out a lot of things that I knew I didn't need to pay attention to. So, yeah.
Well, that's good. Well, I look forward to delving into this particular paper with you. So the second reason why this podcast is also very unique is that we're actually going to be talking about a paper that was published just a few years ago in Developmental Medicine and Child Neurology. And you might be going, hang on, don't you normally review something that's recently been published? Well, recently, this particular paper was named as the top-cited article through Wiley in Developmental Medicine and Child Neurology in 2025. No small thing. It is titled, What are the Barriers and Facilitators to Participation of People with Down Syndrome? It is a scoping review. And to talk to us about this article is a friend of the show, the senior author of this paper, the one and only, the incredible Hércules Ribeiro Leite. Welcome back to the show, my friend.
Hello, Hércules.
Hello. Thank you, guys. I'm very happy and honored to be here again. I think that's my 3rd time. I think so.
It is. That's why it's officially friend of the show. So this is fabulous. And this time we've swapped it around. I think last time you stayed up late for us and we were in the morning. And this time it's morning for you and nighttime for us. So these are things that we do when we're friends, right? Yeah, that's right. So lovely to have you here. Yeah. Well, before we get into all the details of the paper, we always love to do a formal getting to know you. So to do that, the honours go through to Sophia. So hold tight. I know it's always really awkward when we talk about all the good things about you, but there's plenty of good to talk about here. Are you ready?
Yes.
Take it away.
Well, I'm really looking forward to talking about this paper more with you, Hércules. It's an important one for many families, therapists and policymakers, but one that's also important to me and my family. So before we get into it, I just want to introduce you formally. So Hércules Ribeiro Leite is a physical therapist, researcher and professor in the Department of Physical Therapy at the Universidade Federal de Minas Gerais in Brazil.
Well done.
Where he joined the faculty in December 2019 and associate member of CanChild. His work centres on paediatric rehabilitation, child and adolescent health, and the participation of individuals with disabilities. He coordinates the Brazilian Registry of Cerebral Palsy and leads epidemiological and functional studies in this field. With over 140 publications, more than 2,500 citations, and an H-index of 20, Dr. Leite is a leading voice in evidence-based pediatric physiotherapy in Latin America. He has held postdoctoral positions, including at the University of Sydney, and collaborates internationally. This scoping review on participation in Down syndrome is among the journal's most highly cited recent articles and underscoring its impact on clinical practice and policy.
Whoo-wee, that is impressive, Hercules.
Sure is.
Congratulations on all this work.
Thank you, Guy. Just friend made this introduction like that. Thank you.
No, it's wonderful. And, I follow your work closely. I see all the things that you're doing. It's so inspiring. It's such an honor to have you on this podcast once again. And I know I'll see you again soon in a few months' time when we head to EACD, which is very exciting, where we'll have more conversations. But before we get into it, we always have to do our icebreaker. Are you all ready for this? I've got the honors today. Okay. All right. So, sitting amongst us here, we are all multilingual. We speak multiple languages. So my question today is, when has being able to speak another language given you a significant advantage or something to turn into your favor? It could be like ordering something special for a restaurant or overhearing a conversation. What would that be? Firstly, Hercules, guess first. What languages do you speak and when has this happened to you?
Great question. Wondering here and the first thing that came up to my mind was the fact that, now I'm able to understand international music, something like that. But maybe there is a particular thing that I would like to share with you guys. Because when we are traveling abroad and we face situations with other people in the street and we are able to speak another language, you can argue with them.
Yes.
Oh, you can do that with me. It's not correct. I'm excellent, very good at arguing with someone in other language, better than Portuguese.
That is fantastic. And they don't expect it. That's the best thing about it. So arguing is your skill.
That's a good one.
I like it. Thank you for sharing. What about you, Sophia? What language do you speak? Other languages do you speak? And what's happened there?
Yeah, English is actually my second language too. Mm-hmm. I grew up speaking Afrikaans as my first language. I'm from South Africa originally and still speak it with my parents. And I think definitely talking about people behind their back is a very useful thing when you want to say something. Not necessarily about people, maybe just you want to say stuff and you don't want everyone to know.
Yes.
And I have this memory of when we first moved to Australia, we stopped via Singapore, and it was the first time we'd been in a different country where there was, people that spoke a different language to us, and we couldn't understand us if we spoke Afrikaans. That was just a really foreign concept to us because we'd grown up in this little town where everybody only spoke Afrikaans. And my parents were like, they can't understand you. You can just say, we'd be whispering something about, oh, look at so-and-so. And they're like, you can just say it out loud. And they went, and they're like, no, Dad, you can't. And he's like, look at that lady sitting over across with her big nose and her funny hair. And we were just like, oh my gosh, Dad, stop. It's so embarrassing. It's like, she can't understand us. And we just thought it was so mortifying.
It's incredible, the power of different languages, isn't it? Okay, so my story is different in this kind of way because the thing that comes up to mind for me is always about food. And so my other language that I can speak is called Hokkien, like the Hokkien noodles. I don't know why we call them Hokkien noodles. We just call them noodles, because we're Hokkien. But Hokkien is spoken very rarely. Like there's only a few places that speak Hokkien. But obviously I look Asian. So when we go out to eat yum cha or dim sum, which I love doing quite frequently, I know a few words in Cantonese so I can order my food. So they'll come up to me and they'll go, what you want? And I'll be like, ha gao, siu mai, cha siu bao. And I'll say it in like the best way possible. And then they start speaking to me in Cantonese and I'm like, oh, sorry, I don't know. Hokkien only. And they just wave at me and walk away in absolute disgust.
Shame on you.
Yeah, that's right. But I can order some good dumplings and then that gives me a bit of cred for just a few moments.
Yes.
Yeah. There
impressive.
You go. The power of different language. Anyhow, lovely to speak to people who have different languages up their sleeve. But let's get into this article. It's time to delve into this. We've got so many questions for you, Hercules. So let me give everyone a bit of a rundown about this paper. This work maps the barriers and facilitators to real-world participation for children, adolescents and adults with Down syndrome. Drawing on 14 studies, it identifies consistent influences, physical and psychological factors, parental and caregiver attitudes and support, transportation, and most critically, the availability of specialised programs and trained professionals. While physical activity is relatively well studied, major gaps persist in community, daily living, and leisure participation, especially among adults. The review calls for targeted interventions, family education, and more inclusive programming to translate these insights into meaningful participation gains. Lots there. Ready?
Yeah,
Let's do it. Okay.
So, Hercules, I wanted to know what sparked your interest in this topic, and why do you think that you felt like a scoping review on the participation barriers and facilitators in Down syndrome was urgently needed?
Great. So first of all, I'm very happy again to be here. As you know, participation is an outcome I really like to study and investigate. And what spark us and me is I think it's our experience in clinical practice, because sometimes we always see children and adolescents, they're able to perform activities or tasks, but at the end we also can see that they're not performing in the community, in the school, because some environmental barriers and lack of opportunities. So when we start looking at the literature, we identify a literature very fragmented and limited, more and looking at more on physical activity in children population, and less in adolescents and adults, and also in other settings, just more focus on physical activity. So that's the reason why we decided, no, we do need to do that.
Yeah. It's so important, isn't it? Because like you said, it's not just about the tests that you do that shows that there's a difference. Participation, and you refer to the family of participation-related constructs in the introduction, and participation has got several components to it, right? It's attendance and involvement. We know that's really important. And involvement is something that's so critical. So unless you understand barriers and facilitators, how are you going to try to improve participation? So I love that you did this. Can I ask really...
Exactly.
Specifically, why in Down syndrome?
Down syndrome, as you know, it's not a very common topic of investigation in pediatric rehabilitation. As you know, the focus is more on children with cerebral palsy. We have a lot of evidence on cerebral palsy, and probably because it's one of the most common disabilities in childhood. But and Down syndrome, it's not the most prevalent, but it's also very common around the world. And we decide, no, we need to look at this population as well, and not just always the population that I really like to study cerebral palsy, but the families in clinical practice, and also the students around, they are pushing, no, we need to do that. So that's what really sparked me to go beyond on this field as well. It's very important. Yeah.
That's fantastic. There's such a curiosity about that. And I want to go to you, Sophia. I remember you saying to me a few years ago, I was like, oh, can you on Research Works, can you take a look at some articles on Down syndrome? And I remember looking, and there were very few. What do you know much? Do you know much about the research in the area for Down syndrome and come across it?
Not too much, apart from the, I guess, the evidence for physical activity and the benefits that can bring in people with Down syndrome, particularly the positive effects on cognition that it can have in people with Down syndrome.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is hard to come across, and a lot of it isn't very new, I guess. So it's really, I really like seeing people doing more research in it.
And so just a common, just to add, because I think when we look the literature, sometimes the papers, they are mixed. They include children with cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and not particularly a paper specifically for children and population with Down syndrome. So that's another reason to dive into this universe.
No, that's absolutely perfect. There's an aspect here that I think both Sophia and I are very interested in, and that's in your method. So there's two parts to this question for you. The first part is about the fact that you've chosen a scoping review over what we often know about systematic reviews. Let's start with that one first. Why did you choose to go down the path of a scoping review in this particular instance?
Mm-hmm. So the reason why we perform a scoping review, it's the idea to map the whole literature. So as a researcher, and it's very important to understand where we are stepping. And in considering regarding Down syndrome literature, we have different papers studying different topics, different populations, designs. So first of all, it's very important. No, we need to understand what's published up to now. And a scope review, it's very important to understand the whole picture and plan future studies. So future studies and researchers might be aware, now I know I need to go to this way or to this way.
Yeah.
So the scope review, very powerful for that.
Yes. You can feel confident that you've actually looked at the broad range of literature to understand the area, isn't it? It's more flexible than a systematic review. Yeah, that's a great explanation.
A good starting point.
Yeah, that's right. The second part that we're really interested about in your methodology, and I know this about Sophia because in Oceania conference, which we just came back from, one of the highlights for you was Nora Shields and all the work that she's been doing. And I see in this that you have integrated this 4-factor framework that was something that Nora Shields had used. Do you mind going through with us what this whole framework is, because it is very interesting?
Yes, I'm a big fan of Nora Shields. Yeah, she's a great. Yeah, she's a great and awesome researcher.
Yeah,
especially on Down syndrome population.
Yes.
So when we were searching the literature and trying to understand our research question, we came up with a previous study of Nora Shields, looking at children with Down syndrome regarding barriers and facilitators to participation, specifically in physical activity.
Right.
And the next step for us, so now we understand, in this paper of Nora Shields was published some years ago. So from this point, what we can do to try to fill the gap is try to understand the whole context, not just physical activity, but in community activities, social activities, daily activities, and leisure activities. And also across the lifespan in adolescents, and it's not just only in physical activity and in children. And the start point was to use the themes proposed by Nora Shields in her paper. That was 4 factors: personal, social, environmental, policy, and programs. So this paper was very important for us as a starting point.
And you used the patient and public involvement or PPI strategy, and you had a young adult with Down syndrome and his family. And we love that you included that and that they were so involved in, reviewing your work and providing feedback. Can you tell us more about the active framework?
Yes. First of all, I love patient and public involvement. And with our group, we have been trying to use this methodology in all papers that we have been running here in Brazil. And active framework is a framework that help us to better structure how we're gonna implement the PPI in a scoping review or other other study. So we have questions such as who will be involved, how will the stakeholders be recruited, what will be the mode of involvement, and what stage the review process will the involvement occur. So using this structure, we were able to include an adult with Down syndrome and his mother. And we also define the mode of the involvement, so a direct interaction and continuous during the whole process.
Fantastic.
And also very important to define their roles in the process. So they help us to interpret the findings, write and publish the review, and especially knowledge translation and impact, because as you know, the DMCN used to publish papers for us, for example, in Portuguese and in English.
Yes.
So they review the Portuguese version to check terms and tokenism.
Wow.
And also helping us to share the findings on social media and congress and conference.
Wow. That is so fantastic. And I feel like we haven't even got into the results yet, but these two frameworks that you've just spoken about, using NeuroShields and that 4-factor framework combined with this active framework just provides such a good foundation for anyone who wants to do work in this area to build on what has been done before. But also we keep talking about, involving patients and publics within the work that we do, but how we do it is often such a big question. And the way you've laid it out in here, I read it and I was like giving you virtual high fives. It was really good, right?
Yeah, it makes it seem achievable, doable, like we can do this.
Yeah, that's right.
Can I ask how you came to decide on this particular young man and his mum? How was that sort of decided?
Yes, using the active framework, we use a convenience approach.
Okay.
So I met her mother, Pedro's mother, some time ago in a conference, and she's a leader in Brazil. She's besides to be a mother, she's a researcher and a pediatrician.
Wow!
And she's leading some initiatives in Brazil, initiatives very powerful on Down syndrome. And so by convenience, we invited her, and I was following Pedro on Instagram, and I was big fan of him, his engagement in the community, physical activities. So at first we thought, no, we need to invite them.
Yeah.
What a perfect combination of perspectives
Isn't
and
it?
insights. Yeah.
That's a great story. I love that.
Was there anything related to the PPI and the feedback that they gave you that was surprising or, that you didn't expect?
Yes, great question. I was, when you guys invited me, I had to went back to their comments and then check exactly, try to remember, of course. And when I was reading the boxes, where they put their comments, and I need to tell you two things that really surprised me. One from mother and one from the adult. Okay?
Yeah, I love it.
So from the mother perspective, one thing that she mentioned was the fact that in the early years, the family, they are more assisted by the therapists because the kids, they are in therapy, they are in a safe environment, in a safe field.
Mm-hmm.
And after discharge, the families, they feel alone. There is a gap after this time, especially in terms of how after discharge, how to keep practicing physical activity, because sometimes therapists, they just recommend, no, you have to do physical therapy, or you have to practice physical activity, but how? For families to move beyond and move by themselves without a guidance. And from Pedro's perspective, his comments was on the fact that he always loved to be engaged since childhood.
Yeah.
He was really motivated, and the fact that had his mother as an example, engaging him and as a model, as well as in terms of physical activity, was really powerful for his journey as an adult.
Yeah, that's great to know.
That is so phenomenal to know, and it'll sort of reinforces some of the results from this study, aren't they? Which we can come back to.
Yeah.
But how wonderful to hear from them in terms of their involvement and their perspective in terms of the value of this work, which is so beautiful. Well, let's get into the results now. I feel like we've teased that for long enough. So what was included in this scoping review in the end? What did you put into it, and what did that actually look like?
So as you can see, we just included 14 papers. It's not too much. So we do need to keep studying and investigating, and we need more research on that field. So, but we included qualitative and quantitative papers.
Amazing.
But the majority was qualitative.
Okay.
And this is good because we can get the perceptions of people with Down syndrome, caregivers and professionals who work with this population. We also the data was extracted from professionals, people with Down syndrome, adults, caregivers, and parents.
Wow.
What is good because people will have different perspectives.
Yes.
And in terms of number of participants, we have a big a great range because qualitative studies used to have small sample, but quantitative a large sample size, considering their specificities. So, and also studies mostly from high-income countries. So this was a surprise for us. So how we can try to implement our findings if we are just getting perceptions from high-income countries. So
that's right.
Yeah.
You can't really generalize it, can you? Unless you know what the perspectives are in those other countries.
It's really interesting. And can you tell us about which high-income countries they were? Do you remember that off the top of your head, Hercules?
Yes, I think mostly Europe and North America. I'm not aware right now the name.
Okay, no, that's okay. Yeah. We can look in the paper for that. That's fine. No, that's really good insight. How interesting that you involved quantitative and qualitative. But as Christine Eames often says, when it's participation, qualitative is the way to go when you want to understand involvement experiences. And this is fascinating because you had both children and adults and multiple perspectives. So that is phenomenal. So let's get into about what this all means.
Yeah. What do you think were the most, or what did you find were the most consistent barriers or facilitators across the age groups and activity types? And were there any surprises, especially when you compare the kids to the adults or the young adults?
I think what were the most consistent barriers and facilitators across age groups in activity types? I think I would say that the central role of attitude as facilitators, I would say, particularly in children and adolescents.
Yes.
And transformation as a barrier across all age groups. So negative attitudes and behaviors from parents, as you know, caregivers and people in the surrounding environment were definitely repeated and identified as a key barriers. And
actually on that, do you remember how old the studies were that you included in the review? Do you remember roughly what sort of dates they were published?
What do you mean?
In terms of the papers that you included in your review, do you remember how old they were, like from what sort of time frame? Were they recent articles or a bit older?
No, yes. We included papers without data limitations. So we have papers
There's a big range.
more old and early. We have this
big range.
Great range.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering whether you would have gotten different information from older papers compared to newer papers in terms of attitudes and perspectives?
Yeah. Great question, but we it's a good question, but this is a limitation. We didn't identify and compare all this
Sure.
paper.
Because we hope that
a good
attitudes are
question.
slowly evolving and changing, and
Yeah.
people have
Yeah.
higher
And it might
expectations.
change.
Yeah, because I think that was probably the
Change.
surprising factor. I mean, attitudes are so important. And I love how this one was very clear. If you've got a positive attitude, it can facilitate. If you've got a negative attitude, it's a barrier.
Yeah.
And I think that is so clear in terms of how we approach this whole topic. And it probably goes beyond a lot of diagnoses as well, right?
Absolutely.
It's about our attitudes. But the negative attitudes, do you remember what they were? Because I find that surprising, but at the same time, I'm in this area all the time. And so it's hard to fathom and imagine sometimes, right?
Yeah. So a negative. Now I'm trying to remember here because you asked me if anything surprised me. Surprised me.
Yeah.
And there is one point that I really would like to mention is the fact that in adults, there was a team that emerged. They said feeling of deserving fun in adults.
Wow.
And this is really interesting because as we are trying to understand here, and for children and adolescents, the participation is more extrinsically driven as they need attitude from someone else, the surroundings, the behaviors in the surrounding, because they are motivated as kids. But as they get older, start appearing themes like that, feeling of deserving fun. So I think this is probably most related to when they are adults. They need to have autonomy, and maybe is something related to mental health in this age.
Yeah.
So we have probably participation more external driven in the early ages, and more internal, because as they get older, they need to be more independent, and they have more challenge and barriers. So this is something that really intrigued me. Yeah.
Because it can get harder to facilitate that for an adult, and if they've sort of never had to push for that themselves, and we know that there's links between mental health and physical activity and that sense of belonging and having a purpose to your day. So if you don't have that, it's like a vicious cycle, really, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's a really interesting point, and it's something that your paper does go into. It's just the role of education in this aspect, that in light of what you've just said as well, and with attitudes, so much can be, achieved if you've got adequate education for the individual themselves early on, so they're looking for participation opportunities or know how to seek those opportunities, but also education amongst caregivers and their attitudes, people who are providing services and training programs. Then you start really thinking about, it's the family of participation related constructs, isn't it? It's that context and that environment of who needs to have that kind of education. Hercules, what do you think that looks like in terms of providing education to reduce those barriers?
Yes, I think education is the core aspect that we need to start reflecting more, and you need start developing strategies and interventions to address this. So, for example, I think it's very important. The first step is helping families become aware of how attitudes and emotional climate at home might influence participation. So we can give then concrete examples. For example, how encouragement and opportunities to try activities tend to increase engagement. For example, while keeping conversation on judgmental and strength basis, for example, and we can try to co-create practical strategies with the families. For example, this might include promoting autonomy, such as offering choices in activities, reducing overprotection while maintaining safety,
Yeah.
building positive routines, reinforces attempts rather than performance, and supporting families in managing frustration. So I think this is some strategies that we might use when we are talking about education.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, and I think it starts from the very beginning. I think it starts from, when you first receive a diagnosis, might be prenatally, like in our case, where you get presented with, this is what your child may look like, this is what they might or might not do. And a lot of it can be very negative, to be honest. And it doesn't paint a very positive outlook on life. And so, it starts there, I think, from what you can expect for your child and their future.
Yeah.
And unless you speak to other people with lived experience who know what it actually is to raise a child with a disability, that's when you first get that sense of hope, I guess, that actually our life's not going to just go down the drain. Like our life's probably going to be quite normal, and that it's probably going to be quite ordinary, really. And I think because people start to think, oh, we're not going to be able to do this, we're not going to be able to do that, and our life's going to revolve around this child. And actually, I think surrounding yourself with people who have experienced it is very helpful, and educating those health professionals that have those moments from the very start with families and, so doctors and genetic counsellors and those sorts of things, I think is really important. And then educators, I think there's a lot of people who, like in our family, for example, I love that you said that, it's for the family, like how you live your life at home, and the example that parents are to their children is a huge factor. And I 100% agree with that. I think, we are the role models for our children, and they do what they see, not what you say. They're going to do what you do and follow your example. And so, we're a very active family, and we play a lot of sport, and we go to the park. And so my daughter's very active. She does gymnastics and a lot of things that her brothers do. And yet we've had some challenges at school. When she goes to PE, her teacher says she doesn't participate. She doesn't, she needs to tick off all the fundamental movement skills, and she refuses to get involved. And it's like, and then I know it's not about what she can or can't do, because I know she can do those things.
Yeah.
What are the barriers?
Yeah.
Is it the teacher just doesn't know how to modify things and how to get her, yes, she's there, but she's not involved.
Yes.
And why is that? It's about educating and training the people at schools. And I think
there's so many different areas to look at that. Yeah. And I love how everything you said there has resonated in terms of what was found in your review as well, in terms of like the role models, and for physical activity, and your family certainly does do that. But in the case of physical education at school, Hércules, you're talking about the strengths-based approach. It sounds simple, but actually you've got to be targeted with what that means, and looking beyond the disability and looking at the opportunity. And I think it speaks so much to that education, and even the language. We were speaking a little bit earlier that, we've been in different countries where I can often, and it's painful when I do hear it. It's actually very painful when I hear it, when a teacher or sometimes a parent might say about their child, oh, you're just so lazy. You can't do this because you're so lazy.
I even hear it here.
You do?
In sessions.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. From
usually
parents.
From
Grandparents.
The older generation, perhaps more so than, but and even parents though.
As a lack of effort when it can be very difficult, isn't it? Thoughts on that, Hércules?
Exactly. I think it's all about, we need to talk about more positive, a positive way of thinking. We are talking about F words for childhood development. The F words is powerful to do that. And instead of looking at the impairments they can't do, they are not able to do that. We need
important. Great point.
Look to the other side using different lens.
Yes.
So and especially in the paper, we identified, for example, points like hypotonia, muscle tone as barriers to participate. For example.
Wow. Yeah. And you think those are elements that you cannot change, right? And the focus on that does not provide an opportunity to then move forward.
Yeah,
because
it's good to understand those things, and you have to take that into account. But it's not, it's not the be all and end all. There's, and I can also relate to the, being scared of letting your child out, I guess, into the world when you've been so protective over them, and a lot of kids do have a lot of medical challenges and behavioural challenges even, that it can be daunting to let your child into the community in school where they might be at risk of getting sick or I guess being vulnerable to abuse, bullying, all of that. I can understand that can be really frightening, especially if you're not going to be in that situation. I'm not allowed to be in my daughter's gymnastics class. I can kind of watch from a distance, but I don't, usually I'm away with the other kids, so I don't always get to see what goes on. And sometimes I'm like, oh, is she just off to the side? Are they really involving her? But recently I got to watch the whole hour and I was just so pleased. This is a mainstream gymnastics class and she's fully involved, fully, participating. So I think when you get over that initial fear, you can't wrap your child in a cotton wool, and you just, they will do well if we give them the opportunity.
Yes.
And I think what I've learned is that children will rise to the challenge of what they see around them.
That's
exactly. And
so important.
Yeah. Go ahead. No, I would say that and try to understand and see that the personal factors, they are characteristics. They are like, and the characteristics doesn't define who they are.
Yes.
So the parents' attitudes, the caregivers' attitudes definitely will define the opportunity in the environment. So I think that's when the magic happens. Try to
Yes. Hercules, can I just make a point here? Because we've talked about a lot of great frameworks, right? So we had the frameworks that were the basis of your review and your involvement of people with lived experience. And everything is coming to life here in terms of participation-related constructs. We can hear that part of it come through. There's another element to this. It's a bit of a surprise to talk to you about, but I have a feeling you'll be willing to talk about it because we spoke about it last time. The strengths-based approach and F words. I mean, that's the whole idea of the F words lens tool, isn't it? Like, you envisage being able to use that in this kind of scenario when it comes to education and setting goals?
Yes, for sure. So the F words lens tool, it's all about to talk to families, and a way for professionals try to help families to identify the right ingredients to different F words goals.
Yeah.
So and as we are trying to reflect and we are discussing here, and I'm loving that we have very potential ingredients such as family education, coaching, modified environment. So the support, the opportunities that we need to provide. And so this is all about the F words lens tool, how to find solutions with families together.
And when you know what the barriers and facilitators are, you can come in it with that knowledge and think about the different contexts that you described, Sophia, that you may be able to go to the phys ed teacher and kind of go, all right, let's look at these. What are the ingredients that we can look at? What a powerful framework. This is framework upon framework upon framework, this paper, Hercules.
We love framework.
I love it. I love it so much.
Keeps us on track, keeps us accountable.
Keeps our thoughts centered.
Structured.
Yeah, what to do next. I like that.
Yes.
Another point that would like to add here, because when we dive through the paper, into the paper, we see the bubbles, the beautiful bubbles, red bubbles and green bubbles. We can see that people are investigating most barriers. So people are focused more on barriers. So now it's time to try to identify the facilitators.
Focus on them.
Yeah. So the researchers' views sometimes and people's views that are on the negative side of
Yeah,
things.
it's so true.
Human nature,
We
isn't it?
do that a lot. Yeah, and it's a good point. When you look at the bubbles, I do encourage everyone to have a look at it. I love a good visual graphic. There are very few green bubbles of facilitators, and it's quite confronting to see that actually. And, a few weeks ago, we released an episode about the upcoming EACD conference in Galway, and everything was based on F words for the abstract submission. And the head of the scientific committee, Rory, spoke about the fact that the least amount of papers that were submitted were for the category of friends. And I thought, okay, this is where a lot of this work comes in, doesn't it, Hercules? Just exactly what you're speaking about. Yeah.
Yes.
Hercules, with those, the figures, is there one or two that you think clinicians or families might be able to put in action right away?
Yes, the first, I would say attitudes, but we already discussed attitudes a lot. But the second, I would say, is transportation. I think it's very, very important to talk about transportation, especially because the adult with Down syndrome who participated in our paper, he mentioned participation as a barrier because he lives in a building and he lives in São Paulo. It's a big city in Brazil, but he would like to practice physical activity far from his house in another place. But considering transportation is difficult for him to go outside. But he has a gym in his building. So he decided to practice physical activity because it's more convenient. He's a facilitator for him.
Yes.
So again, we always have this debate, barriers in facilitators. So when you look to facilitator, we can try to find the solutions.
Yes.
So I would say it's very important to start thinking about locally available community-based solutions.
Yes.
So I suggest try to identify accessible neighborhood facilities, explore adapted or subsidized transport options when available.
Yes.
Organizing shared transport with other families. Try to connect individuals to local inclusive leisure and sports programs. So are just low-cost ideas that we could push parents and professions to start reflecting on it. So and especially nowadays, we have some beautiful interventions trying to address the context, such as fit skills,
Yes.
developed by
I love
Norwich.
that.
Beautiful example, how they are putting pairs, a mentor and an adult with Down syndrome to go to the gym, to practice exercise together, and maybe become friends.
Yes, that's right. And
And
changing
the
attitudes
other-
at the same time.
Exactly. In targeting attitude. And we also have PrEP developed by the Dana Anabi. It's a beautiful solution trying to address modifier factors and design a plan and go to action. Yeah, so beautiful solutions.
Hercules, that's beautiful because I think you're so right. We do need to focus on the facilitators because sometimes barriers are barriers, especially, and they take a long time to shift. It's good to know what they are, but actually the facilitators means that they're in our control right now and their possibilities right now. One of the things we spoke about earlier was that a lot of these studies were they're all from high-income countries. So how do we generalize this to low to middle income countries? What pieces of advice would you have in terms of translating some of these ideas or facilitators to these different contexts?
Great question. And I think we can try to, first of all, we need to redesign around available resources. So it's not the same to use the same strategies that have been used in upper income countries. We need to prioritize low cost and maybe scalable strategies such as caregiver-led approach.
Yeah.
We need community-based activities and use existing public space rather than specialized services. So the first point that we have been discussing today, it's the central role of families. So as you know, families, they might act as a primary agent of change.
Yeah.
So family education, coaching, empowerment, and maybe they can deliver intervention through, we can deliver intervention through accessible and flexible formats. For example, group sessions, asynchronous telehealth, mobile-based communication. And we can target more families using technologies, for example.
Yeah.
So we can rely on leveraging existing systems, so
Beautiful.
such as schools, public health services. We can try to adapt the services instead of building new things, you know.
Yeah.
Another thing that I really like to highlight in Brazil, it's the power of the community-based organization, NGOs.
Yes.
In my city, for example, I have an NGO. It's called Mano Down. It's a beautiful one. They have a foundation in my city where they follow hundreds of families and people with Down syndrome, providing them physical activity, opportunities, work.
Wow.
So I think in Brazil, for example, in low and middle income countries, we can try to rely on NGOs as partners. So just some solutions that I would like to highlight. We can be here for a long time chatting and chatting.
Oh yeah, we can talk forever about this.
Absolutely. And I love how you talked about, just using existing services, which is so important, and rather than constantly building new things. And I love this whole trajectory we're on at the moment about facilitators. Can you talk to us a bit more about things like social and personal facilitators? I know that was mentioned in your paper a bit too.
Great. So social and personal were mentioned. So we had, for example, motivation and hypotonia as some personal factors. And again, I think it's very important communicate and tell professionals and families that these factors do not determine the child participation. They need to provide opportunities. They need to engage them and be a model, as I have mentioned. In a paper like that, it's difficult to talk about predictors and moderators. We are just trying to think about some hypotheses, but at the end, everything is together. So the personal factors are not determined individually because they are in a context. So the families, caregivers as a proxy will determine the experience.
Sure.
And a whole picture, we have the policy and the programs, we have the community that will embedded and determine, providing programs, inclusive opportunities. So everything's together. The personal factors, we can see the personal factors individually, everything together and interrelated and associated. Yeah.
Beautiful. Final thing for me to add, I suppose, is your call to action, I suppose, and what you want our listeners, what you want our clinicians, researchers, policymakers, families to take away from this amazing paper, top-cited. What will be your one key call to action?
I think my call to action is to move beyond identified barriers and start building real opportunities for participation in everyday life.
That's a beautiful summary.
I love it.
That is just a beautiful summary. And I love that we've brought it to that point, isn't it? That
sometimes
it provides hope.
It's just the way you look at something. You can either look at it as a problem or you can look at it as an opportunity.
Absolutely. So anything that we can expect to come on the horizon? Has there been work done since this review? Where to, Hércules?
Yeah, unfortunately, we're not running any study in order to any intervention for this population, but I think the studies that we have been running in Brazil, we can try in a near future to adapt for this population, for Down syndrome population, such as Poor Stars and the PrEP, for example. So we have some plans to to design an intervention in the future for this population. But so far, we have translated instrument for Portuguese, and we can see more instruments, not just target children to address participation, but now adolescents and adults, such as YPen, developed by, again, Dana Anabi. So we have translated this instrument for Portuguese, and I can see other places translating as well. So far, I think now we have approach such as PrEP again and fit skills. I would love to implement fit skills in Brazil. I
would love to implement it in WA. In this side of Australia. It's on the to-do list.
Exactly. It's on my to-do list, but the to-do list is so busy.
Yes, I can relate.
At least, I think we are seeing more an expansion of models and frameworks, such as the one that Gina Kladebeck published, the sports framework, highlighting how people can navigate across their journey and excel at sport. And one thing that I think the highlight, it's the co-design studies. We have been seeing more studies using co-design. So, and I think this is a great solution for the future, for now and for the future.
You sound like you're going to be very busy. Well, you're busy now. You're busy for the next 10 years at least, it seems.
It's busy.
It's good, though. It's good to be busy doing great stuff. And at the end of the day, sharing this information with people, hopefully it means that it's not left to a few. There are people that feel inspired about what they can do and what they can facilitate. And when that happens, it's a movement, because it's not like these facilities are not available. We just need to be a bit creative with what we have, don't we?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a good call to action. My goodness. Thank you so very much, Hércules, for that wonderful conversation. We weaved in and out a bit. We got excited. We're thinking about the future. It is no wonder this was a top-cited article.
Yes, thank you so much for all your hard work. And I found it incredible to talk to you about it and to discuss all these very important issues. And it's only good things from here, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's my pleasure. My pleasure. It was great to have this conversation, especially with you guys and you, Sophie. You brought your perspective, and I think this podcast, this conversation is even beautiful, even more beautiful when you put on the table your thoughts and your perceptions. You just summarize the paper.
Thank you. It was an honor. It was a privilege.
Validate the findings. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Sophia, for sharing your experience as well. And it's, like Hércules said, it's so valuable, and it just brings to life what's written in this paper, is that this is real. There's lives on the other side of it, and there's things that we can do. So hopefully that inspires everyone. We'll pop a link for this paper as well for you in our show notes. So you can head to our website, researchworks.net, where we do have a list of all of our episodes, but we are migrating everything over to one site because we've only got time to run one site. Well, when I say I mean Ed. So researchworks.academy. Researchworks.academy has got everything that you need there when it comes to looking for things for the podcast. We've got a lot of AI integrated tools to help you to implement best practice using the latest evidence. And we've got courses on there as well. So take a look at that. It is a wonderful tool for all of you because you've all said you wanted it. And so we have given it to you, researchworks.academy. But for now, we're going to have to say goodbye. I'm going to see you very soon, Hércules, in Europe. Safe travels.
Exciting.
For you.
Yeah, thank you. It's a long way. It's a really long way. To all of our listeners, thank you so much. We'll talk to you all again really soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Ed, any final words from you?
Actually, does Hércules think that Brazil has got a chance at the World Cup this year?
No. Zero.
Oh, gosh. I'm a Dutchman and I hold more hope for the Brazilian team than my own.
But we're gonna support Brazil anyway. But
Very
zero
good. I
chance.
love the loyalty.
It's going to be tough, I think. It's going to be tough in the US. It's going to be hot. I think the Europeans are going to suffer big time. So, Brazil may have a good chance just because from a weather perspective, you might be okay.
Yeah.
Europeans are going to flail.
Yeah.
They're not going to survive.
Process. Yeah. But I prefer to be negative at first.
It helps to
Only go
control
up
the
from here.
Not high expectations at this time.
Just as long as Argentina doesn't win again.
That's painful.
No, I don't think so. No.
Messi's too old now. I don't think so. Still very popular.
Yeah.
But too old now.
Yeah.
So who do you think is going to win? Who are you hedging your bets on? If it's not Brazil?
Yeah, maybe
Orania.
Europe. Not Europe for sure.
You really think so?
But I would say Germany, Spain.
Oh, I think you
That's
just broke
my-
Eddie's heart.
I don't know if you guys remember because the World Cup was in Brazil 2014. I think so.
Oh, I
can't
remember that. Yes.
Yeah.
But there was a game close to my home because the stadium it's quite close to here.
Oh, really?
Germany, Brazil, and that won the 7-1.
7-1.
7-1.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even follow football, but I know
That's
Seven
significant. I do remember
Germany.
that.
Was a shame.
That's pretty
So
painful.
from that point, Brazil. No. Don't. Not. Better to change the
Yeah.
subject.